And so he was really able to help me, 20,000 followers from one video. They're like, this is madness. Now you can build a software company in days to weeks. Like it's not like you're gonna go try it for 3 months and then like bail out.
For those that haven't already seen you all over Instagram, YouTube, would you mind just like sharing to the audience who you are and why we can't get you off our screens at the moment?
Yeah, so my name's Alex, and people knew me from Alex from Closify. Now I'm kind of people know me as No Code Alex. And as to like why you've been seeing me everywhere, it's first it was a mix of an accident, and then it turned into me very quickly understanding kind of the short form algorithm. Basically, I was doing a podcast with my buddy, and he's a short form video editor, and he was like, "Hey, like, do you want a few free clips while you're here?" And I was like, "Sure." Sure enough, one of the 3 free ones that he made for me ended up running up to 1 million views and it
Blew
added
up.
over 20,000 followers.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, people are like reaching out to me and they're like, we've never seen such a crazy like views to like followers conversion rate. They're like, we've never seen someone get like 20,000 followers from one video. They're like, this is madness. They're like, you have to keep running with it. And so sure enough, like I hired this guy to be my dedicated short form guy. And all of a sudden it's in like the first month, it's like we have 2 videos over 1 million views, like multiple over 100,000. And we're kind of like sitting back and we're like looking at all the videos and we're looking at like what's doing well. And we kind of get like a really good idea of what it's working. And on top of that, and I said this yesterday on my Twitter, actually, it's because all these other creators have started to reach out to me and they're like, how are you growing so fast? Like
Yeah.
at this point, I've gone from like 200 followers to like 83,000 in like the last like
Yeah.
50-ish days. Like really mad growth. The answer is like when I'm scrolling on Reels, which I actually never really scrolled on Reels until very recently. I'm tailored to see like the make money online people,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
they're all like the lifestyle clips. You know what I mean? Like they're all lifestyles, like montages of their cars and the bottle
Yeah. Yeah.
service, watches. So it's like, yeah, like people like it because it gives them that like dopamine hit, but
Dopamine. Yeah.
they don't get any value from it. So they're not like very compelled to be like, oh, I need to see this guy's content again. Because they're just like, it was just a quick dopamine hit. Whereas like I'm just sitting in front of the camera like this and I'm just speaking. I'm giving value. There's not You can't go on my page and you don't see any. Actually, at the very bottom, when I had an editor, he was like doing some lifestyle montages. But again, one of them got like 100,000 views, I think, but got no followers. So it's like now, like you don't see any lifestyle montages from me. You don't see me like bragging about how much money I make. So it's just me sitting in front of the camera, giving value from my experience, from selling 2 companies. And I just acquired my first, like just value from everything that I've learned, all for free. And now it's like people are watching my video. And I think it's honestly very similar to like Hormozy. They just know, they're like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. I want to make sure that I see all the reels that he puts out. And so they
Yeah.
follow.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like why you can't really get me off your page right now, I think.
And I think as well, because it's about SaaS, it's something. So I recorded a video yesterday. I tried SaaS for 983 days, and I was probably doing agency for a similar time before that. And the lessons that I learned doing SaaS, I think are a lot more valuable than agency because you can learn the agency shit online. A lot of it's on courses, whereas
Yeah.
SaaS, you don't get to learn that stuff really. There's not many sources to go to apart from you or doing it yourself. And a lot of people don't know how to do it themselves. So they go to people like you. You're talking about sort of if you really want to get rich, then social media marketing isn't the way you're going to do that, as you know.
That is another part of it too, because it's like obviously SaaS is not new, like by any means. So it's
No.
like funny, like it's funny that like when I talk about SaaS and these other people talk about SaaS, they're like, why have I never? I'm like, guys, like SaaS is nothing new. Like SaaS is software. Like software has been around for decades, like not even close to new. But what is new is no code SaaS, right? A big part of why that goes viral is because I can tell, I will say, now you can build a software company in days to weeks, or like now you can build a software company, with only a couple $1,000s, or in some cases, honestly, much less. And like, then like people love to swarm those videos and
Yeah. Yeah.
like throw their old beliefs on it. Like, no, like software requires $30,000, or no, you can't make a software in under 30 days. And like, oh, like no code doesn't scale. You can't build a real company on no code. And so people love to, swarm it with
Shit
their
on it. Yeah.
beliefs. But on the flip side, there's also people that are like, wait a minute, like this actually, is something that's new and really cool because it's actually democratizing software. Like before, I would have never had a chance to get into software until I made a large sum of money somewhere else. But now I can use a company like Softer or Flutterflow or Bubble or Glide, Adalo, all these different ones. And they're like, I can either learn how to build it myself if I want to, take the time to do that. It might take a couple weeks to maybe, if it's Bubble, maybe a couple months. Or instead of paying a custom stack dev 30 grand to build an MVP, it's like now I can go get a really good MVP built on Bubble, like really, really, really good for like 10 grand. Some cases maybe a little less, but like 10 grand is like a good sweet spot. And so it's like a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but it's like you don't have to be some like 7-figure agency owner to be able to get 10 grand in disposable capital. You could have been making five grand a month, 10 grand a month for a year and pocketed 10 grand where you're like, oh, sure, like I'll give software a crack. And so it's really democratizing the space. And it's a good thing because now it's like more solutions are coming out for these industries. And again, it's like competition is a good thing. It's like now these companies have to, they have to compete. They have to make better solutions for the customers to win market share. And so in my eyes, like no code is a really amazing thing that is going to continue to grow very, very rapidly. And it has been. Money's been pouring into it.
And you know what it was for me when I was at uni? We had a coding module. I always saw these coders as these whizzes that would go on to work for Google, Microsoft, Goldman Sachs, these top level companies, and these people were just elite. And I would never have that coding knowledge. I didn't go down the no code SaaS route. I've paid developers to develop something for me. It's slightly harder to develop what I've built from no code. However, the principle is still there. The barrier to entry for me, getting the developer off Upwork, for other people do no code, it's just like the barrier's been obliterated and it's now open to anyone who, as you said, has 10K, which 10K in the online world, when you've got experience, isn't loads of money.
And so you made a really interesting point there that like the barrier's been obliterated. And so it's super interesting because there's like a big debate right now of like what people's moat is around their company or what's their defensibility. Like that's a big word. Like, when you're like going to sell your company, right? It's
competitive advantage.
And it used to be like that used to be, and it still is to a degree, right? One of the biggest like benefits of like buying a software company is like you had such great defensibility. You had a big moat around it. And so people, again, they love to bring their predetermined belief. And they're like, well, like if you're built no code, like you have no moat. And I'm like, okay, when we're talking about software, it's like there's 3 potential moats, if you will, right? It's like how much time does it take to build? How much money does it take to build? And then like, is it like, if you have a patent, right? Like those are kind of like the 3 moats that you can build, right? And so say you're building on Bubble, which is the best no code builder. It's what I built all my companies on. At the time that I sold Closify, it was about 40 to 50 grand deep in development costs. And it still took probably like 2 to 3 months, maybe a little bit longer, to develop and add all of the ongoing features, right? Whereas if it was custom stack, it would have cost 8 months, it would have taken, and maybe it would have cost, double, like 80, 90 grand, right? Like, sure, is there more of a moat there? Like barely. It's like, you know what I mean? Like if someone's got enough money to where they can like quickly drop 40 grand to copy us, they can probably drop 80 grand. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
And again, patents are kind of a joke in my opinion now, because it's like, say you patent your idea, it's like with the custom code stack that you built it on. So someone can make the product look the exact same as yours, just with different code. And so where I'm getting to this is, in my opinion, now really your moat and your defensibility comes from actually going to market, getting users, and then having a constant feedback loop with those users of like, your users are telling you what they want next. And so then you're building what they want. And it's a constant loop. Whereas if someone that has no users yet, but they've got the money to drop it, well, cool. They can drop the money and, build the initial iteration, but they don't have the users to get the feedback of what they actually want next.
No.
And so that's why I'm such a big proponent of no code. Because it's like, say we're building an MVP and it's going to take you 3 to 5 months to get to market. And it's going to take me 30 days. I'm getting to market in 30 days and I'm getting tons of customers before you even launch. And so then it's like, then I can start building a custom stack version in the background if I really choose to. And so that's why I'm such a big proponent of it.
Yeah. And my story was, as I said, I didn't do no code, but mine was a version of that. I saw demand on Facebook groups. So what I launched a Squarespace SEO plugin, like a Yoast for Squarespace. I saw people calling out for it on Facebook groups. So I just span up a waiting list on my agency website.
Yep.
I got over 200 businesses signed up. And in the time, I was like, shit, well, that is more than enough demand to try and launch something really quick. It took us 3 months to launch an MVP. So like 3x longer than no code. But in that time that it was being developed, I interviewed as many of those people as possible. And I was with people in the agency world and they're like, Hen, why are you, these people are going to be paying you like $25 a month. Why are you on a call with them? And I was like, you don't get it. The feedback that this first 100 is going to give me will provide me with the knowledge to get to the next 1,000. And that's what I love. I love that speaking to customers, because even when they're on there and they think they're just chatting shit at me for 45 minutes, that knowledge is what fuels our future growth, the features, as you said, and builds that moat, because you can't replicate that without having serious industry knowledge or spending time in the trenches like we do speaking to customers. It's a cool world to be in. And I guess compared to like social media marketing and like the typical agency, you look at Iman Gadzi, like started his agency, made a lot of money, made a lot more money off teaching people how to start an agency. He's now going to make a lot more from software. What's the trend going to be in the next 5 years around people like coming across you, learning more about SaaS? Are people going to be looking into it more, and that's going to be the next move? How do you see that playing out?
Online businesses do tend to come and go in trends, right? Like 2016, right? Like this is like before I was like even really in the space, but it's like 2016, 2017 were like the easy, like early days of drop shipping. I think like 2018 is a little bit more like when agencies started to catch on a little bit more. Cause I think at that point, Iman was starting to get, a little bit bigger. But in like 2020, it was like, I think agency got really big. That was the year it got really big. Like 2021, it was like crypto. Like 2022, it was like kind of like online sales and, a little bit agency still. Now I really do believe that I'm going to shift the focus to no code software. But what I'm trying to do is like, I'm not trying to create a trend to like profit off all these people moving to no code SaaS, right? It's like, yeah, of course, in it to make money. Like I have a no code development agency. Like that's how I make money from telling people to get into SaaS, is like, we'll build it for them. But what I'm trying to more so do is change the narrative around why you should get into no code SaaS. It's like the last couple of years, people have just been bombarded with short-term like gratification offers of like, get your first client in 4 weeks, get to $10,000 a month in 90 days. Like all of these offers, you're never hearing anything longer than 90 days in the offer. It is all like such a short time horizon. And it's like when I started my first like no code company, Closify, it was February of 2021. Keep in mind, I already been in business for like 2 years. So I had 2 years of business experience, and it still took me like a year to like really reap the rewards of like that company. And then it took and then it took 2 years to exit the company, being in like a really good spot. But so it's like, it still didn't take like 2 years. It took like 4 years because I needed 2 years of business experience to be able to do the things that I did next. So the way that I look at it is like, from me to be the 18-year-old kid I was, that was like, just wanted to like be financially free, do X, Y, Z, to being the 22-year-old that's like done everything, that's like dropped out of school, moved to Miami, got the watch, got the car, like done all the things that I wanted to do, right? Like that was a 4-year process. Like it wasn't 90 days, like it wasn't 6 months, it wasn't 1 year. Not to mention a lot of these people are building, like they're not businesses. Like they're glorified freelancers that have a couple of VAs under them. None of them are running an actual business really, or like most, like even like
the
middlemen. How many times have you been burned by an agency? Right? It's like I've been burned so many times, like almost 9 out of 10 suck. And so like very few of them are even providing value to the marketplace. They're just closing clients and then losing them. And so I'm kind of trying to shift the narrative back to like, I think there's almost been like a stain put on entrepreneurship, because like going back to like, you scroll your Reels page or TikTok For You page and it's all just lifestyle montages. And so now it's like, now an entrepreneur, being an entrepreneur is not about like building cool solutions or solving problems. It's
It's
like
about the result, the end point, rather than the journey.
it's like a constant like dick measuring contest of like who's going on the coolest vacation, who's got the nicest car, who's got the nicest watch. And it's like, but what problems are they solving? So I'm trying to change the narrative back to like building actual solutions that help people. It's like Closify was like a pretty revolutionary solution. There was nothing like it on the market. And so like build a real solution and build brick by brick over the course of years, like not months, like years, and then finally reap the rewards one day when you go and exit the company. Like, but create like an actual solution over the course of years that's like actually helping people and or businesses.
Yeah.
And so that's like what I'm trying to shift the narrative to, not just like, oh, like go create some little AI spin-off company and like try to pump it as fast as possible to like go buy your first car, like weird stuff like that. Like, is there a way that you could probably like build an easy little spin-off AI SaaS right now, just to like pump a couple thousand quick? Like, I'm sure. But like again, it's like it's gonna fizzle out after like 90 days.
And especially now, like before, if you wanted to get into SaaS, you would have had to raise venture capital, go to
Yeah.
angels to get a little bit of cash. Now you don't need to do that. You can spin it up quickly with no code, and then you can, linking back to the customer point, you can do that, but the only way you're able to do that is truly provide value. Because like you do in your videos, you say like a SaaS should be $50, right?
Yeah.
$50 is so low entry for so many people. My SaaS is between 10 and 25. That is so low entry for people that they can just try it. If it's shit and they get no value, leave. So you've truly got to understand how you're going to provide value to those people for them to stay, because otherwise your churn's going to be so high and you're just going to
Yeah.
crash and burn. I saw that with my first company. We've never chatted about this, but so my first SaaS company, I got offered £290,000 seed funding. Guess how much equity that VC wanted?
Probably like, I don't even know, like 6 or 7%, like something stupid.
Bro, no, 60%.
Oh, damn.
60%. So like not only that, before you had like as a young person coming into SaaS, you have no idea how to navigate that when you're in a room with a 6-year-old guy, multimillionaire, telling you to give 60% of your business. Now, like the power dynamic has completely shifted
Yeah.
because you've got guys that understand how to build a business, understand how to build it sustainably, that can go around these guys that were previously the gatekeepers to actually get to where they want to be business wise.
When was that?
That was January last year, so just over a
I
year
thought
ago.
I wasn't sure if it was during 2021 when they were just like throwing out crazy checks like no one's business.
Just after that, it was just really still in that stage because we
Yeah.
we were like doing due diligence in like October 2021, so it was in all that craziness.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Dude, people were raising at like with like very little or like even no revenue. They were raising at the most ridiculous valuations in 2021.
I want to touch upon this, but for anyone that wants to learn more about software, I'm going to ask Alex this in a second. But I personally have learned so much from This Week in Startups, hosted by Jason Calacanis, and the All In podcast, which is like Jason runs it, and you've got like Jamarth, David Sachs, Freeberg, some incredible people. That's how I learned, and that's how I really got into software. As well as I did a startup program, a 15-month paid course that teach you how to do SaaS. It was super cool. But Alex, how did you learn about software? What was like your journey getting into it, and how did you learn how to get started?
Honestly, been all experience. Like I haven't done any courses for it. It basically started where I had an old buddy who became a business partner that told me about no code and got me into it. And so that was like how I ended up starting Closify. And then I had another business partner come on to Closify pretty early on, that incredibly successful guy, like 8-figure net worth at like 23 or 24 years old, like wildly successful. And he was basically an angel and had been a part of a lot of different software companies. And so he was really able to help me on the product side, on the marketing side too. He really understood product, which again, surprise, surprise, like one of the biggest parts about building your software company, right? It's like,
Yeah,
there's like 2 metrics that people really care about, like your churn and lifetime value, right? And so if your churn is high, like you're never going to get a good exit. And so he was really able to help me on product and like how to think about product, where to take it, how to create those feedback loops with your users and iterate upon it. And then everything else, like I said, it was just really through experience. I mean, at one point we had 50,000 a month in overhead. And so I learned a lot about hiring, about firing, the systems that we needed to build. I mean, one of the biggest things I learned was like that I really need an operator in my company. Is like, I'm a visionary, I'm great at driving traffic, but I need someone to help me with the actual operations. Yeah, honestly, experience was my best teacher. I mean, again, I ran Closify for 2 years end to end. I even learned a lot in like the acquisition process of like, what all that looks like. I mean, I had no clue how difficult and tedious of a process that was. I literally, like, I was so naive because like Closify was like my first like pretty big business. And so I literally thought it was just like sign papers, like get wired, transfer. Like I thought it was so simple, but it's the most like long and drawn out process ever.
If someone was, I mean, like to be your age and go through that experience is like, it just doesn't happen as well. That is because typically the time to exit is 6 to 7 years in software. So for you to do it in 2 is like unheard of, which is pretty cool. And I'm going to ask you after this question, like what the biggest learnings were from that journey. But if someone wanted to get into software, what are the 3 things that you recommend after listening to this video they go and do?
So the first thing is kind of like what I said earlier. Like if you're going to get into software, you're committing to a multi-year commitment. Like it's not like you're going to go try it for 3 months and then like bail out. Like if that's your plan, then again, like go start an agency and go like get clients and lose them. Like if that's what you want to do. So commit to multiple years, then you need an idea, right? So, and I would get a bunch of them. I personally love to now go on acquire.com and I'll filter to companies that are like over 200,000 annual recurring revenue. And like, yes, you might need a pro account if you want to see like the actual companies. So like if you're not willing to spend the like, I think it's a couple $100, like it's like the cost of doing it. Maybe you're not ready for the SaaS big boy leagues yet, but I like to look at those companies and then I search their G2 reviews. And so then I scroll to what people dislike and I just look for common themes. And I look for, a recurring theme of something someone dislikes or a common feature request or a common pricing change request. Because it's really interesting. I don't know if you've heard of Instantly.ai, the email sending platform.
Yeah, I use it.
Right. And so, before they were here, there was Mailshake, there was Lemlist, right? And I'm sure there were a few others that dominated the market. And everyone complained that they charged per inbox. And so, if you're running cold email campaigns at serious scale, those per inbox charges really adds up.
Yeah, they run up.
And the founders of Instantly recognized that and heard these complaints. And so they launched Instantly with $97 a month for unlimited inboxes. And it was like this like game changer, like revolutionary. Like they were saving people so much money. So all of a sudden, everyone on this little corner of Twitter that I'm a part of, like Money Twitter, whatever, starts flocking over to Instantly. And it catches fire, like word of mouth marketing, like going viral. And then, of course, they start doing all the other things that we talked about. They're listening to the feedback, adding new features on top of just like the big pricing change they made. They're investing into marketing on other platforms, whatever. Just that one pricing change and launching, they went from like 0 to, I think I just heard they're at $8 million in annual recurring revenue in under 2 years.
Yeah. I heard something pretty. Well, the second one was around going on the review platforms. It was on Acquired, which is a platform where people buy and sell software companies, and then looking at the reviews of those to find the reoccurring themes to identify a gap in the market, right? And then what's your third one, would you say?
So either start playing around. I mean, I think you probably should do this regardless because it's handy to be able to build a little bit yourself. But either then it's like learn how to build on these no-code tools, go buy a cheap Udemy course to learn how to build on Bubble, or go watch YouTube tutorials, learn like Bubble and Flutterflow are kind of like the 2 leaders right now in terms of like functionality capabilities. If you wanted to build something like super, super simple that you could like literally whip up really fast, then it's like, okay, go mess around with Softer or Glide.
Yeah.
But it's like either like start playing around with those, or it's like just go start vetting no-code developers. If you're just like, all right, like I got my idea now, like I want to pay someone to build it, like, go to a platform like Rolly.io and start, putting out your listings and getting, devs to send proposals and looking over those proposals.
Your first point was around it was don't expect to, like,
Mhm.
you got to be in it for the long haul. And
Yep.
one thing that I thought about that is, I think it's important for people listening to not confuse, like, it's accept that you're going to be in software for the long haul, like years. It's not accept that you're going to be in that idea for years, because that's
Yep.
something that I learned. You've got to very, very quickly learn whether something is a goer or not. And that's
Yep.
why you said no code so good, because within a month you can get an MVP out there.
Yep.
You can get essentially, like, a concept in SaaS is MVP, minimum viable product. And that isn't necessarily the quickest thing that you can start getting money for. That is the quickest thing you can launch to start learning and testing your assumptions. That is the
Yep.
thing that you need to be doing quickly. The thing that you need to be in for a long time is SaaS, because it's only being in it for a long time is where you learn and learn what works. So then when you hit the thing that's going to scale, you've got another knowledge to be able to do that.
Absolutely. And I mean, the other cool thing about it is like, you can kind of validate, and even if you like, yes, you could like build up your own MVP yourself, but it's like, even if you don't want to waste your own time or money to like build an MVP, like you can validate your ideas before you even launch it. Exactly like what
Yeah.
you said you did with your agency is like, build a wait list and talk to people that are already in your ecosystem somehow, or followers, or reach out to them, or go in Facebook groups. Like it's so funny. People will like ask me, and it like seems so obvious to me. They're like, how do I validate my idea? Like, what's the best way? I'm like, who are you thinking about targeting? And they'll like tell me. And I'm like, how about you go ask them if they pay for it?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like so like brain dead obvious to me. And yet, like, I don't know why people don't think of it. But I'm like, literally go ask the people that you're planning on targeting, hey, I'm thinking about building this. Would this be valuable to you? How much would you pay for it? Boom. Like, it's
Yeah.
simple.
I literally had people in my case, when I had calls and I told them what I was thinking of building, they were like, can I pay for it now? I want it now, sort of thing. And that's what I call market pull. You will
Mhm.
feel that, like, driving force pulling you towards that market to create that product. If you don't have that, it doesn't mean your product isn't going to be a success. But for me, if you're going to be able to do that quick iteration, you've got to be able to find it where there is that demand. And again, one of the biggest mistakes that I made in my first SaaS was, like, people told me they wanted to pay for it, but it wasn't scalable enough because they didn't want the competitors to use it. And they were talking about NDAs and all that bullshit, which you definitely don't want to get into.
Right.
But looking back on your journey, what would you say are the 2 or 3 biggest lessons that you learned?
Yeah. So one, like I said, like I need an operator at scale, right? Like at scale, like it honestly goes back to like I talked about this with someone else. I don't really want to be even the CEO of companies anymore. Like now that I've, got 2 exits under my belt, like I don't want to be the CEO. I want to be like the owner. And I need someone to kind of like run the show. Like I need someone to where I tell them my vision, I drive all the traffic, which is what I'm really good at, but like they run the show. And so I need an operator at scale, because like systems, like day-to-day meetings, like hiring, like that stuff is just like, I'm not bad
Yeah,
at it, but like I believe I should only do what I'm like really fucking good at. And
definitely.
like that is, I've proven it, like that is driving traffic. Like I'm driving an absurd number of eyeballs every single month right now. And so I do not want to, move my focus away from doing what I'm best at. So I learned that I really need an operator. Um, the other big thing that I learned was honestly around the acquisition of like, basically like, one, get a lawyer when you're getting there. And luckily I had a business
Yeah,
partner before. I was literally like, I mean, I was a 21-year-old kid that had family offices and private equities, like, waving big numbers in front of my face. And so I was just this 21-year-old kid, like, like ready to sign because I thought that I was going to get like wired the next day. You know what I mean? And so luckily I had a lawyer that like was able to like save me from a lot of big mistakes there. And then if I had to give a third lesson, it would probably be to, I would say, do not trust people too easily. We had a few people that kind of tried to like screw us over in different senses. So like don't trust people too easily.
agreed.
And going off of that, I would say don't worry about people copying you, because it is inevitable. Like,
Yeah.
doing something smart, there's going to be another smart person that's going to try to copy you. And instead of like wasting your mental energy on like, trying to like talk down on them, or, trying to like send them some scary legal letter, like it's inevitable that you're going to get copied. Like, you literally just have to be better than them. Like, you've got to get more users, you've got to market better, you've got to listen to your customers better, you've got to focus more on the product than them. Like, you've just got to be better than them, because it's absolutely inevitable that you're going to get copied.
In my first software business, that was one of the things that the program I was in, they were so paranoid about. They were like, oh, don't speak to that person without an NDA, or what's our incentives. Whereas I've learned in the second one, I've built it completely in public, because like, try and get someone to copy one of your ideas. Like, literally try and get someone to do it. Call up a big company, be like, I've got this idea. They won't do it. Everyone's got their own shit going on. And coming from the agency world, I sort of knew that that's what it'd be like anyway, because trying to get a lot of people to understand what SEO is in itself is can be a bit of a challenge. But I know you're a super busy guy, mate, and I'm really grateful for you taking the time to chat. But I just wanted to give you a bit of time to say, like, what's next. You've mentioned a couple of things that you're working on, but feel free just to share to anyone listening, like, what's next, how people can find you, and I guess how they can learn more.
So I'm running my no-code development agency as like a venture studio. So after like 6 months of working together, we'll take equity in certain product only if it aligns on both sides, right? Like, they have no like contractual agreement to ever give us equity. It's just like, if it makes sense after 6 months and they want us to write a check, like, we might write a check. It might be a vested equity agreement. It might be us like dropping dev fees. So I'm running that we're only taking 3 to 5 clients a month now, because everyone else that needs to hire no code developers, I send them to the company that I just acquired, Rolade.io. So I'll be scaling up that. It's another like marketplace hiring platform business. And then probably about in 10 days from today, 10 to 14, I'll be launching my new software company, that it is basically going to be like having like a 7-figure prompt engineer in your back pocket. So you'll be able to fine tune GPT-3 models to create chatbots, content generators, stuff like that, super easily, like without needing to know how to write prompts and completions, and without knowing how to code. So be on the lookout for that in like the next 2 weeks or so. And then those are my main focuses. And in terms of like where to find me, you can search Alex Heiden
Everywhere.
and you'll find no code Alex on Instagram. And yeah, I'm sure everyone will find me in due time.
Yeah, mate. And I mean, to be fair, the first time that I came across Alex was on YouTube anyway. But obviously, if you guys have enjoyed watching through this, my YouTube's obviously Henry Purchase. I share the journey growing my SaaS business, and hopefully just give me a follow if you want to see more content like this. Obviously, drop Alex a follow. We'll add his tags on the screen here. And thanks a lot for watching. And hopefully we'll see you in the next video.
Cool. Appreciate it.